Hello, my name is Risky Business, and what's on my mind today? Well, diversity and Dungeons and Dragons is on my mind today. So, this is a post that's been made recently as of the 17th of June 2020, so at the time of recording it's about a week or two ago, and in it basically Wizards of the Coast have made a decision in regards to two specific races in terms of the general, overall and grand sort of narrative. Now, these two races, just to be upfront, are the Drow and the Orcs, and in them they have made some changes. So we'll look into the article right now. It is posted on the main dndwizards.com website, but I will put a link in the description below. So the first paragraph of this basically advises that Dungeons and Dragons is diversity for strength. Varus means it is sort of along the lines of what an adventuring group would be, and therefore they have felt that human means for everyone, not just fantasy Northern Europeans, and that over this sort of 50-year long period of history that D&D has existed, the Orcs and Drow have been somewhat overemphasized as the main villains in terms of D&D antagonists, if in effect. And in this sort of revitalization, what's going on with current events at the moment, I believe Wizards of the Coast have taken the time to have a look into basically what can they do in order to make sure that this isn't sort of being a stereotypical depiction of any racist sort of involvement in the game. Now, one of the two things that they've done is that one of the things they have done, my apologies, and the things that they have done is that they're going to release further sort of cultural information about the Orcs and Drow in the next two books, being Eberron, the Rising from the Last War, and then the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, which is the critical role-based content. And in this, they are looking just to provide further information and further cultural information about the Orcs and Drow in the way that it would allow for other people to pick this up. Secondly, they're looking to add this information into books that are being reprinted. Now, they also have brought up some issues in such things as the Tomb of Annihilation and Curse of Strahd, which is mentioned further down in the article and in more specific detail. But with these pieces of information and with these books, they are looking to basically, once they reprint them, add the new information in and take out the old information that they believe is incorrect and would be better suited to be in the past for the game itself. So, and further to that, it looks to be the case that they say we will release a product, not they announce, that offers a way for a player to customize their character's origins, including the way to ability score increases come with being an elf, dwarf, etc. This option emphasizes that each person in the game is individual with all their capabilities. Now, if this is just a general overall change for any of the races in D&D, it's quite good. And we will look forward to sort of seeing what Wizards of the Coast have further down the line in regards to producing this content. Now, they sort of specifically get into Curse of Strahd now, which is with the Vistani. Now, I haven't read, for context, I haven't read the actual full book of the Curse of Strahd, but I have heard about the specific sort of inclinations in mind. And in this sort of statement, they have advised in this statement to rectify that. Not only made changes to it, but in the two upcoming books for the Curse of Strahd sort of storyline and campaign line, they are working with a Romani consultant, so to make sure that they aren't reducing that specific race or specific peoples down into sort of certain tropes that they have found and going forward, which is, I would say, is pretty good. I mean, it's more culturally sound, it's got a better range of things, and I can't see why it would be detrimental to the whole process. And going forward, then they're obviously advising about increasing the number of freelance writers they may have for the D&D sort of games and storylines, and along with basically bringing in new talent and content creators to sort of help satisfy this. They obviously wrap it up by saying, we want everyone basically to be heard in regards to the conversation around 5th edition, and that they would really enjoy some feedback. Now, I'm just, my sort of opinion on this basis, scrolling back up to the top just so we got a nice clear look at the gorgeous artwork of the diversity of the Wizards of the Coast website, is that this can only be anything good effectively meaning that the idea about making orcs and drow a more codified race in the sort of perception of them being changed from being just that barbarian race or the Machiavellian evil race that they have for drow, these changes can't be anything but good. Now, one thing I've been hearing in a sort of general terms and general sort of feedback I've been hearing from this, from my social circles and from online places from some individuals, is that the change is detrimental to how players will foresee or look at orcs or drow in the way that they said, oh, well, this has been the way it has for 50 years. Why can't they be in the aspect of what they have and always been? Why can't the orc be near enough the stereotypical Tolkien orc, which they have led examples to? Or why can't drow just be seen as drow? And effectively, why touch these races that have been formatted? My sort of argument to this particular point in general is that if you wish to continue to have these sort of orcs be orcs in the traditional sense and drow be drow in the traditional sense, there is nothing stopping you from doing so. I mean, if you want to run a game based on that aspect, you are not stopped by Wizards of the Coast from letting you do so. At the end of the day, D&D can be used just as a construct and just as a rules mechanism to portray a world, meaning that you can create an entire world based off it and then just simply use D&D's sort of rules, guides, mechanics, effectively to flesh it out in a mechanical sense. Whilst a role-playing sense, you would be using everything else, i.e., you would be using your own sort of concept, your own cultures that you've invented, your own races, technically, if you want to even change the race names for them, whilst still giving them the D&D stats. So, in effect, this realistically will change nothing. All this is really going to change, in the grand scheme of things, is that in the books that they are going to be publishing going forward, that they will be providing a different and what they would determine as a more inclusive approach about how you can look into D&D. They will remedy any sort of what they perceive as flaws in their writing. And going forward from that, they will continue to produce content on that basis and hopefully give us more interesting stuff. Now, it's not to say that they have made mistakes in the past. I think the clear example is by here, orcs and drow being two of the prime examples, have been characterized as monstrous and evil, using description that are painfully reminiscent of how real-world ethnic groups have been and continue to be denigrated. Now, it's not that these races can have a one-to-one construct with what is real, what's happened in real life, and what you can't simply just say an orc is this sort of person in real life. However, obviously, if you want to provide a diverse game, you have to make some inclusions that, unfortunately, there may be some sort of references that may depict things in real life, and unfortunately, they do need to be addressed. I am not making any argument for the complete sort of whitewashing of the race, if that's the correct word to do so. I'm not against the whole idea of turning them from what they were originally, but at least providing orcs and drow maybe a new sort of fresh light to look at them in would mean that we all get something better from the system. Like, it can only be better that if they provide this information, because, going back to the point I previously made, if you don't want to run with the orcs and drow in the new sort of way they are being portrayed, you don't have to. You can then go ahead and run a game solely based on what you believe the orcs and drow could be, and it doesn't affect you. Yes, it's an official stance by Wizards of the Coast and who are the publishers of Dungeons & Dragons, but at the end of the day, they can't stop you from playing a race how you want to. They're just going to provide you with the sort of groundwork to say, this is what we and our race in this system is portrayed as, this is what they do, this is what they have a culture for, and then you don't have to have any of those issues with having to think up all the ideas for races. So that's pretty much what I feel like. Now, with the Vistani issue, and the Tomb of Annihilation obviously attaches onto that, where they describe Hult as exotic, for instance. I haven't really got an opinion on that. If it is sort of bad wording, or if it is meant to sort of unfortunately bring up things that are racially insensitive. As they said, they've rechanged the text. They've rectified those issues now and they've been resolved. So in my mind, this opinion now has been resolved and they are making headway in effectively sort of solving those issues so they aren't brought forward in future. And once again, all I can really say on the matter is I believe that it is a strong way forward for Wizards of the Coast to effectively provide media that's accessible to everyone, has no sort of connotations of any racial biases, and make sure that they provide something that everyone can get into. Now, if you like the video I've provided, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any comments, if you have any arguments you'd like to put forward about why this is a bad issue, or why it shouldn't be done, or if they could have done it in a certain way, please peel the post in the comments below. I will look into them and I probably will respond to you. And just as usual, this is Risky Business. That's what's been on my mind today. I hope you have a good day and take care.